Good morning, children. Hope you all are ready for the class. So yesterday I gave you an introductory class of the lesson towards the struggle for freedom, and I taught you one page almost. What I told, what was the importance of India in olden days, and who were the people to come to our country to trade, what were the items India was famous for, and how could they come and how could they start their business in India, and at the same time how are they able to British establish their rule in India. Okay, and I even told they built forts to protect their godowns, but actually that was not their intention. Their intention was to establish their rule in India, because they came to know the weak points of the Indian rulers, kings. What were their weak points? Some of the people were greedy. They did not know what is the welfare of our country, what is good for our country. They just thought of their selfish motto, just money, money and money. Okay. Then the next is the kings fought among themselves. That affected the situation of our country, and those who opposed the Britishers, those who did not like the policy of the Britishers, they opposed them, fought. So in this way, the Nawab of Bengal, called Sirajud-Dowla, he revolted against the British for the first time. His name was Sirajud-Dowla. Where? In the year 1757. At the place called Meerut. At the place called Plassey. The first war against the British was raised by who? By Sirajud-Dowla, but it was not successful because of the cunning plans of the British, because of the greedy people who supported the British, who gave out all the secrets of the Nawab to them. That is how the Nawab was defeated. Sirajud-Dowla was defeated in the what? War. So second Buxar, War of Buxar was, Battle of Buxar was fought. Even there, that was also not successful. Till here I taught, and today we are going to start with our next part of the lesson. Okay, so the name of our lesson is The Struggle Towards Freedom. So today what we are going to know is, okay, in this way the British defeated one by one so many kings and annexed major portion of India to their rule. Annexed means what? Connected, joined. Okay, and in the year in 1600, in the year 1600, they started East India Company. Understand, this is a trading company actually. But under this company, they started ruling us. So this type of rule, it was not ruled by any king or queen. The company had started ruling our country. So it is called East India Company rule in our country. Understand, as it was protested. Protested means what? Though it was opposed by many of the Indians, but it was not successful. The reason for it is our own people, children. The reason for it was our own people. And once the British took away major portion of our country, the bigger portion of our country, they started torturing our people, troubling our people, ill-treated our people in those days. In which way we are going to know now. Understand? The administration of East India Company forced the farmers of Bihar to grow indigo, a plant from which blue powder used for dyeing cloth is made. So, first thing, what the farmers were the target for them. The farmers in Bihar, these people, British people, East India Company rule, they forced the farmers of Bihar to grow indigo. Understand? Indigo. It is a kind of plant. It's a kind of plant. So the British people gave Bharat the name of India. Because of this plant, we got the name India for our country, remember. So they forced the farmers to grow indigo, a kind of plant from which blue powder was made. From which blue powder was made, which was used for dyeing the clothes. Dyeing means coloring the clothes. Dyeing means coloring the clothes. So, they had established many factories in their country. So, as they were ruling our country, they forced the Indian farmers to grow indigo instead of growing food grains. Okay, they forced the farmers of Bihar to grow indigo plant instead of food grains, which was of no use for us, which was of no use for our country. So, and they bought it at very, very, very low price. Very, very, very low price. Understand? And in this way, farmers did not have much money to buy the needs of their family, to fulfill the needs of their family. What are the basic needs of all of us? Food, cloth and shelter. So, as they are not growing food, they were lacking in food shortage. Then, as they don't have money, they can't buy proper clothes or education for their children. In this way, these farmers suffered a lot. And what happened? The British traders bought it at a low price. This dye was used in England for dyeing milk cloth. The farmers has no need for indigo, as they needed food grains to feed themselves. They were forced to sell indigo to the British at a low price. Thus, the Indian farmers became poor under the British rule. Understand? So, first target were the farmers. The British forced the farmers to grow indigo plant, which they bought at very low price. And Indians actually did not have any need or this thing for growing indigo. What they needed to grow? They wanted to grow food grains for their families. But the British forced them to grow indigo because they needed it to dye the clothes, color the clothes in their mills, in their factories in England. Understand? And they did not give enough money, enough price cost for the yield products. Then what happened? It led to poverty among the Indian farmers. Means because of this, they were not having proper money. They could not grow food grains, and thus the Indian farmers became poorer and poorer. Even the cotton and silk textile weavers were compelled to sell the cloth at a very low price. The Indian cottage industry also became the victim of the British greed. Britain did not grow cotton due to cold climate, but they had big cotton textile mills which required cotton. So cotton was bought from here at a low price and sent to Britain. In return, cotton cloth was shipped back to India and sold in Indian market. The Indians had no to buy this cloth at a high price. The British did not allow Indians to start their own mills or factories. So first thing, they forced the farmers to grow indigo in place of food grains. And they bought it at very low price, cheaper prices. And the Indians became very poor. Indian farmers became poor. It happened with the case of cotton also. Britishers had cotton mills, cotton textile mills in England. And cotton was the raw material for their mills. But they could not grow it due to cold climate. Understand? Cotton crop needs hot climate. In India had favorable climate. India had favorable climate for growing cotton. So they forced the Indians to sell cotton also to them at lower price, and they sent it to England and brought back finished clothes, ready-made clothes for the Indians, and they sold it in Indian market for higher prices. This way, the Indian weavers also were affected by the British rule. They did not, and what happened, the cottage industries were also affected. Cottage industries means which industries, which factories, which were preparing the things, manufacturing the things at home with few workers. And this was also affected by them. Understand, this was also affected by them. And they forced the Indians to sell cotton cloth and silk cloth, which was very famous in India, to them. They took it to their country. Understand, this is how the cottage industries and the farmers who were growing cotton also became poorer. And they forced the Indians to buy cotton clothes from them. This is how the weavers in India had to close their weaving, their industries, cottage industries. Understand, that is how these weavers, farmers were very much affected by the British rule in India. They became poorer because nobody was buying their things. Whatever was done, it was bought by the British at a low price. And they took the cotton from India, silk from India, and made clothes in their country, brought them back. Shipped back means brought them back to India and sold them in the Indian market at a very high price. That what happened because of this. Because of this, the Indian weavers had to close their work, their industry, and they did not allow the Indians to start their own factories in India. This is how the weavers also were affected by the British. Then what happened? Under such condition, the farmers, artisans and even the traders became unhappy. The kings and nawabs were dissatisfied. They were treated badly and many lost their kingdoms. The British made unjust laws to make control of more and more kingdoms. So, in this way, farmers became unhappy, weavers became unhappy, business people became unhappy with the British. And many kings were also unhappy with the British. They all lost their kingdoms because of British. And not only this, they made unjust laws, anyayamaina rules chestaru. What is that means? They made one rule called doctrine of lapse. Doctrine of lapse. This was a law made by the British. According to this law, what the Indian kings had to do was, suppose any Indian rulers do not have their legal heirs, ante to take over their rule. Means, if any Indian kings or queens did not have their own children to succeed them, అంటే ఇండియాలో ఉన్న కింగ్స్ కానీ క్వీన్స్ కానీ వాళ్ళ ఓన్ పిల్లలు ఎవరైతే వాళ్ళ తర్వాత మళ్ళీ రూల్ చేయగలుగుతారో అలాంటి పిల్లలు లేనప్పుడు, వాళ్ళ సొంతమైన పిల్లలు లేనప్పుడు మనం ఏం చేస్తాం? మన పిల్లలు లేకపోతే అడాప్ట్ చేసుకుంటారు. వేరే వాళ్ళ పిల్లల్ని తన పిల్లలుగా సాకుని వాళ్ళకంతా తన ఓన్ పిల్లలాగా చేస్తారు అన్నమాట. అది ఎప్పుడూ ఉండేది ఇండియాలో. బట్ వాట్ హ్యాపెండ్? దీస్ బ్రిటిష్ పీపుల్ did not allow such kings to adopt any children. And what rule they made? They made the rule of doctrine of lapse. According to doctrine of lapse, what should happen? According to doctrine of lapse, the kings or queens, any rulers who did not have their own children to succeed them after them, to become the kings or queens after them, such kings had to annex their kingdom to the British rule. అంటే ఎవరైతే కింగ్స్ కానీ క్వీన్స్ కానీ వాళ్ళ ఓన్ పిల్లలు ముందు వాళ్ళ తర్వాత రాజ్యం రూల్ చేయడానికి లేనప్పుడు అలాంటి కింగ్స్ వాళ్ళ కింగ్డమ్ ఏం చేయాలంటే బ్రిటిషర్స్కి ఇచ్చేయాలన్నమాట. బ్రిటిష్ రూల్కి జాయిన్ చేయాలి. అది చాలా కింగ్స్ అండ్ క్వీన్స్కి నచ్చలేదు. సో ద బ్రిటిష్ మేడ్స్ unjust laws to take control of more and more kingdoms. One such law was the doctrine of lapse, which said that if a king died without a child, his kingdom was taken over by the British. The ruler of Jhansi died. The British decided not to allow his adopted son to become the next ruler. They wanted to take over the kingdom under the British. So many unjust laws they made, which were not having any proper justice for the people. Among them, doctrine of lapse was one rule. According to this rule, if any king dies without having his own children to rule next, such kingdom will be taken away by the British. Even if he had adopted a child, he did not have any right to rule. Understand? So, in those days, such one kingdom was Jhansi in Uttar Pradesh. Understand who was the queen of Jhansi? Jhansi Rani Lakshmi Bai, you know about it. Her, the bravest lady of our country. Her husband, Gangadhar Rao, was the king of Jhansi. He died without having any children. So he adopted, before his death, they adopted the son called Damodar Rao. And next, after the death of Gangadhar Rao, who had to become the king? Damodar Rao. But British did not allow Lakshmi Bai to make Damodar Rao, very small child he was still, as the king. Understand? They wanted to take over the kingdom under their rule. So, అలా ఝాన్సీ వాళ్ళ రూల్ కింద తీసుకోవాలనుకుంటారు అన్నమాట. బట్ రాణి లక్ష్మీబాయి was the bravest lady. She did not want to give away her kingdom to the British under any case. She was not at all ready to give. Understand? People in general were unhappy with the unjust and greedy ways of British. Most of Indians in almost every walk of life lost their livelihood. The zamindari system has made the lives of farmers miserable. The kings and princes lost their power. The Indian soldiers were paid less than the British soldiers. So, not only the kings and queens, even the common people were affected by the British rule. Almost all the people lost their livelihood, means their jobs. Whatever British had forced them, they had to do that. And how much they paid? Very less they paid. Understand? Even I told you yesterday, they built the forts and they kept the army to protect their trading centers. In that army, the Indian soldiers were paid less salary than the British soldiers. In this way, almost all the people became unhappy with the British. Understand? And that is how this led to the First War of Independence. This led to the First War of Independence, which was called the Revolt of 1857. This First War of Independence, towards independence I can say, it was called First War of Independence or Revolt of 1857 or Sipai Mutiny, which I am going to teach you tomorrow. Here I stop. So what I taught, how Britishers ill-treated our people and forced them to give away everything for them, and that is how Indian people became poor. Indirectly, India completely became very backward under the British rule. Here I stop. Thank you.